So when we are looking at angle of elevation and depression, go ahead and box those two words. You're always going to use a horizontal line and the diagonal line. So you do not ever use a vertical line to create the angle. Never, ever. So for example, if you look to the left, we always start with the horizontal, and this person is looking up. That is my elevation right here. Do not ever make a vertical line, because that's not the way it's gonna work, ever, okay? Because our line of sight is always horizontal. So with that said, let's go straight to the back, and I wanna look at the word problem pertaining to this. All right, Frank, let's read.
Which one? A pole?
Mm-hmm.
A pole casts a shadow 78 feet long, and the height of the pole is 55 feet. Find the angle of elevation of the sun.
Okay, so we're looking at angle of elevation. For me to go up, we have to start with the horizontal line on the bottom. Because if I start from the bottom, I go up. So then if we're looking at depression, where do I make my horizontal line? Top to make it go down. Does that make sense? So if you want to go up, start from the bottom. If you want to go down as a depression, start from the top. So starting at the bottom, to my angle of elevation and create our right triangle. And again, the angle of elevation, you will never ever use what kind of line? Vertical. The vertical line, ever. So this is our angle of elevation. Let's call that X. So it says a pole casts a shadow. The shadow typically hits the what? The ground. So here's my ground of 78. And how long is the pole? Is my pole vertical or diagonal of the triangle? The pole is diagonal. What is the norm? The pole should be the vertical, unless someone hit it. And it says find the angle of elevation. So we're looking for the angle. So let's write out our acronym. We have SO, CA, and TOA. And we want to label everything in respect to the angle. So here's our hypotenuse. What was our label when I jump? Opposite. So that means the remaining has to be the adjacent. So two things that I know. I know the opposite and I know the adjacent. Which one has a combination of opposite and adjacent? Tangent. So we have tangent of the angle, the X, is equal to the opposite, 55, over 78. So let's do a recall. My goal is to make X by itself. What was the function to get rid of my trig? Inverse. And if you're going that -1 power, yep, same thing. So the inverse and the norm goes away. So that means my X is equal to tangent inverse of the value. What mode should our calculator be in? Everyone go get a calculator, unless you're taking the quiz.
Do we take the quiz now?
Let's talk about it after the recording. Okay, it must be in degree mode. Degree mode must be selected.
Take the quiz right now, or should we wait till after the note?
You can wait until after.
Okay. And also, I totally like. Okay.
Tell me after, okay? We have lots of story time today. I'm gonna write me a book. All right, are we all on degree mode? So we have tangent inverse of the ratio, 55 over 78. Let's kind of anticipate something. Listen up. Last week we talked about how the number is relevant, like less than 45, less than 90 degrees, right, Reese? Yeah. So let's kind of anticipate something. The leg 55 is less than leg 78. So should opposite of 55 be less than 45 or greater than 45 degrees?
Less.
It should be less than. So when I press enter, I should get less than 45 degrees. Is that true? Yeah. And it didn't say round to whatever. I think for the angles, let's make it into a whole number. 35 degrees. So the hardest thing about the word problem is what goes where in the triangle. So here's the bottom line for today's lesson. Our angle of elevation and depression will never ever use what line? The vertical line, okay? So I want to actually draw all kinds of angle of elevation and depression. Let's cross this off. And I want you to give me a dividing line. If I am looking at angle of elevation, I could have a triangle going this way. And that is my angle of elevation. Or you could say, well, what if I want to go from right to left, which is perfectly fine. That is your angle of elevation. And again, if I were to highlight this, it is only pertaining to horizontal and diagonal. So if I want to draw the angle of depression, we're going to make our horizontal line where? On the top. And I bring it down. That is our angle of depression with the right angle pertaining on the top right corner for me. Is that the only direction we can draw the angle of depression? How else can I make it? Flip it, so I can put it down here. By down, I mean to the right. And that is our angle of depression. Voila. So as you're working on the homework, you end up using the vertical line as the angle, then just stop yourself and switch it. All good?
Yeah.
Okay.